So we talked about intelligent business, and when we talked about intelligent business, Donald mentioned certain aspects about what kind of initiatives, whether it's on the people, tool, or on the data side, they are needed to build a business which is intelligent. Romy talked about the duality of business and IT. He didn't say duality, he said singularity, but then that's a duality that we need to address it. So getting to the brass tacks, the essential aspect that we are talking about, that we are concerned about here, are two differing visions of how do we achieve the data democratization that we have talked about. How do we take that step towards an intelligent business? So these are two different views about how we can achieve this. So for simplicity's sake, we are calling these two views as the IT view and the business view. And let's talk about, again, in as simple terms as possible, let's talk about how these two approaches manifest themselves. So when we think about business, we think about self-service, we think about data discovery, we think about business thinking of a particular scenario, businesses thinking about a particular need, and identifying what kind of information would help with that need, with that scenario. So that's the business view, where business wants to look at data in its own image. Business wants to be able to do it itself. Business wants to be able to hunt that thing itself. So that's one view of it. The other view of it, it's somewhere deep there. That's the IT, that's the technology view of it. That's more pragmatic view of it. That's the view where you are saying, okay, yes, data is needed. Yes, information is needed. Yes, there is a process, there is an analysis that needs to be done there. But then how are you going to do it? What do you really need for that data to be visible? What do you need for that data to be consistent? What do you need for that data to be reliable? What do you need for that data to be available in a secure and a governed fashion? So when we look at these two views, the IT view is about data warehouses. Donald talked about it, Romy mentioned it. We're talking about how traditionally we have looked at presenting the data for business usage. And of course, I mean, both of these approaches have their strengths, have their cases. So the enterprise data warehouse, when we talk about that, we talk about things like integrity. We talk about things like security, consolidation, having things in one place, govern, things which businesses can rely on, which are reliable as decision support systems. Self-service and data discovery is actually about the things that Romy talked about. Businesses need it fast. Businesses need the data representation to be flexible. Businesses need the data to be able to manipulate the data and the views on it in a very flexible way. And importantly, you want all possible data. You do not want a view which excludes certain aspect of business. For a business decision support system, for business decision making, you cannot really exclude HR data or materials data or operations data or finance data. It's the good old days when business information systems was a financial report, that's about it, they are long gone. So businesses need all data. So yes, these are two good things, but then they present their own challenges. They present a major challenge when you look at the flexible, all-encompassing view that businesses want to take. Which view is right? One part of the business creates one view of things, another part of the business creates another view of things. When you implement click projects, you run into that kind of an issue every day. You find that you do certain projects for a certain part of an organization, then you do another project for a certain part of an organization. At some point in time, they just are like two different things. So you have the problem of siloed data. You have a problem where you have to open 1,000 gates for 1,000 reports. You have a problem where all of these gates, all of these different connections, all of these accesses, who are the people who are accessing it, which are the systems which are exposing it, how have you architected the security of it, all of these, they start posing big problems. So at the same time, the classic data warehouse-based solutions, they are, by their very nature, they are a little bit, rigid. That's how they are designed. They are designed to be working in a particular way. They are slow to respond to business needs. Of course, a data warehouse, the way it has been designed, a data warehouse is designed, as Donald mentioned, to keep the data for a long period of time in a particular structured way. How do you make sure that it meets the reporting or the analytics or the insight needs and in a fastest possible manner? Those are the issues that really restrict this approach alone as the solution for the business that we are talking about. So the question here is, how do we marry these two approaches? How do we bring them together so that we get benefits of both the approaches and still we are addressing the challenges that each of these two approaches have? So here we present the Data Discovery Hub. Now, the Data Discovery Hub is an architecture which allows you to address the needs of self-service, the needs of data discovery, at the same time with governance, control, access, and power of a data warehouse. So how we actually do it is that in this a simple schematic, we have data sources which build into an operational data store, into a data hub, into semantic layers which can be used to present the data in a useful, valuable manner. So when we think about these two approaches, when we think about various technologies, the important thing to realize is what exactly is new about it. What has really made marriage possible? So when we think about it, we realize that the developments, at least there are 6 key elements which allow this architecture to be possible. So first of them is ability to source data from any source. Any source, it could be any of your enterprise systems, external systems, cloud, on-prem, structured data, NoSQL data, unstructured data. Ability to connect to any source is important, and that's an important piece of the puzzle that we have solved. Then another is, yes, we can connect to data, but then we have to have a process, we have to have tools which allow extraction from that, making them usable in the fastest, most automated way possible. All of that has to be done in a managed way. When I say managed, it means that this entire process of connecting to data sources, running the ATL, putting them into a data hub, all of that needs to be manageable. All of that has to be at one place. All of that should be in a way that you can actually manipulate with, you can configure, you can work with. So that's the third piece of the puzzle. Fourth piece of puzzle is, of course, the ability to expand on that. Yes, everything can be automated, tools would be able to provide everything, but then do we have the technology which opens the window into what really is happening and gives you an ability to manipulate that, to change that, to tune that the way you want it. The fourth piece of it is ability to model that, to build business views out of it. The semantic modeling has to be built into the system itself, into the same architecture that we're talking about. And then the fourth important piece, which becomes important when we talk about that architecture being the key data discovery hub in any organization, is it well documented? Is it something that can be rolled back? Is it something which can be easily configured into a high availability, disaster recovery, high reliability mode? Is it something that you can exist, govern in a proper way? So it has to be metadata driven. So all of these 6 elements are what make TimeXtender as the data discovery hub, as the platform for allowing this marriage to happen. So very quickly, this is just another view of the inverted nuclear bomb diagram that we have. It's another view of the process that Rumi had in his presentation. That's what TimeXtender does. Brings in sources into a staging database, into an operational data store, builds it into a data hub, and allows views and models to be made which can be consumed by any front end that businesses want to use. So let's very quickly, I will, with help of Abhishek, and Abhishek is one of our technical specialists on TimeXtender. Let me also take this opportunity to introduce you to the TimeXtender International Hub team here. Abhishek is helping me with this demo. Vikram is technical lead on that. Santosh is working in the Middle East area. Vriji would be working from the Bombay office. And we also have Shreyas, Saurabh, and Kirti helping with technical pre-sales, implementation, and technical support operations. So let me jump right into. Can you look at this? So that's not the TimeXtender demo. Okay, so this is how the TimeXtender interface looks like. And let's start a project. That's how we would start everything here. And a simple, straightforward way of doing it. And another thing that I would really not get into that much of the detail, but then, as you can see, while there is a sweet, optimal path of doing everything, TimeXtender as a tool is deep, rich, and powerful. At every stage, you have lots of options, lots of parameters that you can configure, and by default, you get an optimal way of doing it. So it's a deep, rich, and powerful platform. Here we're just configuring it to make sure that we have an automated creation of surrogate keys as we create the data hub. So that's it. We have started a project, and then we are starting to build the operational data store. So as we add a business unit which would contain the operational data store, we just start with that. The operational data store will point to a database where the data store would actually reside. So that's so quickly we have created a business unit. We have pointed it to a database where the business unit would be there, and then we would, as a first step, will start adding the data sources. So as you can see, it has connectors to almost any data source that one could have in a typical business scenario. So whether it is all the major databases, you have connectors to that. You have data adapters which can connect to various business applications, Dynamics, Navision, SAP, and so on, wherein these adapters allow you to look at business entities as such, not how physically the data is represented. So you have data sources, all sorts of data sources, and if your database isn't in there are simple ODBC connectors also available. So let's connect to a simple SQL Server database here, and let's call that data store as data SQL. Connect to the server here and the database here. Quickly we have that, and the moment we add the data source, we just have to read the objects, and those all objects are right here. Typically, as you bring in and add lots of data sources, you would like to bring in everything that is there in the data store into your operational data store. So from data sources to operational data store is as simple as this. So for the purpose of this particular demo, we would just bring in a few objects from that database. So what we are trying to do here is to bring in some sales order information. So we'll bring in a few fact tables, a few dimension tables, denormalize it so that we have the right kind of fact and dimension tables available for our analysis, build data hub, and build data visualization on top of it. So the moment we added those data sources and the objects within it, those are available to manipulate, to work on the data, on the staging data store that we have created. Now, as you can see, the way this system is representation of the same architecture that we have. Data sources, operational data store, we build onto it the modern data warehouse and the semantic layers on top. It's the same structure as the architecture of data discovery hub as well. So what we would simply do here is add a few transformations. So let's say your source database represents a particular field in a particular way, but then for your purposes, we want it to be done in a different way. We can simply add transformation here. So here we are creating a transformation based on first name and last name, as easy as that. So here it is. We would provide the relationships and the joins so that these tables can be denormalized into the dimension tables and the fact tables we would want for our purposes. So here we are creating the required view on the customer dimension table by adding the fields from the other tables, the email address, the display name, and as well as we are creating the denormalized view of the fact table by joining the sales order header and the sales order detail tables. So all of this done in a very intuitive, straightforward way. All of the entities are clearly visible, and as we create these systems, these views, the entire process is getting documented as scripts which we can execute at any time. So the important thing is that all the data sources that we have identified, they are available within the operational data store. So we have the ability to join and build relationships between different data sources in the same interface. So that comes in very handy when we have to deal with changing data sources. So let's say, for example, let me talk about just a couple of scenarios here. Here we have the email address of the customer coming in from a different table, and we kind of brought it in. A simple example could be that your organization implements a new CRM system, let's say HubSpot, which connects to social, or has a way to bring in the email addresses of the customer. All that we have to do in this way, add it as a data source down there, and bring that table up in here and connect these two databases via relationship. We can always create an action table. It could be a simple Excel sheet brought in, bring into the system, and lo, you have the fact or the dimension table, denormalized view of that tree area. So let's now create a data hub out from these tables. So for your power users, the operational data store, the denormalized view of data from various sources is available right there. So your visualization tools, your click models, your Excel sheets, wherever you want to do your data analysis, they can connect directly to the operational data store here. But at times, we might want to create a different view of data. We might want to create a data warehouse of it, add certain dimensions, and build that in a particular way. So we are creating here data warehouse. So all that we are doing is that bring in those fact and dimension tables in here. One thing that we might want to do is add a dimension. Typically, business wants time as a dimension. That's an important thing. So we add a date dimension table, and TimeXtender allows the time dimension to be created in a variety of ways, all sorts of ways, whether it's by quarter, month, week, financial year, financial quarter, whatever way you would want the time dimension to look like. We just bring in here, define the relationships. And we are done. So, right from this interface, we can actually create click models, which would be the data views that we might want to create from the data warehouse that we just created. So we bring in the fact and dimension tables, the required fields from those. The relationships we have already defined, those are available as you create the click model here. So creating a click model here is as easy as that. We can always create lab cubes or set of MDX queries which can run into it, and you can use it to visualize data in any of your visualization tools. So here. The relationships and everything there get automatically created, and right there we have the click model also. Now what we will be doing is execute all of that. Now that's an important aspect of this entire platform. Each and every step of identifying the sources, reading the data in, building the relationships, denormalizing it, adding different sources, relating them, creating a data warehouse, all of that. Each and every step is metadata driven. Everything in this entire process is documented here. Everything in each of these steps, in each of these entities, history can be enabled. So what it means is that as IT, as custodians of data, you have full control on how the entire process will run. Each part of the process can be set up differently. It can be set up to run on a different frequency, it can be set up to run in a different order, it can be set up to run with different privileges, and so on. So that's, and here as the entire data store, the operational data store and the modern data warehouse, it gets constructed, so you have hundreds of, thousands of rows brought into the system, and as quickly as this. And this is another interesting piece. TimeXtender has been in data warehouse automation field for 10 years. The aspects and the process of reading, transforming, relating, building data warehouses, building models on it, the entire process has been optimized as a result of experience from implementations at thousands of organizations with millions of tables and billions of records. And that's something which is visible, as you can see. The entire data warehouse, the entire model got constructed in less than 2 minutes. And it's real database with real data, hundreds of thousands of rows. So from right here, we can actually create a ClickSense app from the model that we just constructed. And we can load data into that app. So of course, all the entities that we just built the model from is available right here. Let's create a bar chart, add a dimension table, let's say the customer name, or maybe we can have the date as the dimension table, so like fiscal year or fiscal quarter. So all of these visualizations, that's how we can actually add them as filters, the fiscal quarters, and we are done. So you have all of that information right there, built into a data warehouse right in front of you. It's as simple, as quick as this.
I think that's it.
So this is the platform that we want to present. This is the tool which allows you to marry these considerations. So that's why we ran through the entire process of identifying the sources to actually creating a visualization around it. We can add as many sources, we can change the sources as they happen. You can have scenarios, let's say there is an accusation that happens, and you have a whole new set of data sources which come in, which need to be joined into, maybe unioned into these data sources. We can do it right here without impacting the model. So the business visualization continues to run as they are. All that you have to do was add a source, connect in here, and look, things are done. And that's what this platform is. Yes?
Can you connect to email server, and if there is a message mail, can you extract data from that message mail?
Yes. What TimeXtender has ability to actually bring in all sorts of SSIS packages which you can bring into it. So we can actually use SSIS packages to read from the emails or read from the entities from there. So if we have these kind of unstructured sources, all that we have to do is to write the right kind of a package which can read from those sources, and it would be available from there.
Can you, if I give you the location to extract from website where the files are in the zip format, can you pick those?
So I will need to check that, but then we can definitely connect to file sources directly. Whether we can connect directly to a zip file or not, that could be a thing, but then I can connect to any text file, any CSV, comma delimited file, or a JSON file right away, and I just have to give the location of the file. It could be online, it could be on your local servers or anywhere.
So how you position yourself? Is it a ETL tool, data extraction tool, or how it is positioned?
So so ETL is an important and a critical part of it. But ETL is just one of the things that it does. It's ETL, it's data denormalization, it's data structuring, it's data modeling, and it's overall a discovery tool because you are able to expose data in the transformation that you would want businesses to look at it in the way you would want it to be accessible to business in one interface. So when you are building views out of it, you are building reports, you are actually allowing businesses to access to your data, all that they have to do is to connect to one source, not to multiple sources. You do not have to give them connection strings to connect to this database and that database and this system and that system. And the good thing there is that it can connect to any of your existing data warehouses. So if you have an Oracle data warehouse which is running onto your Oracle applications, it can be one of the sources. It could be, any other data warehouse that you might have in your organization, that could be another sources, and it brings them all together into one.
How you compare yourself with the burst technology? Your burst has a similar technology, which also it provides a virtual BI.
So I would have to look into that. So exactly.
Maybe we should have Lakshmikant speak and then we can do a panel.
Oh, okay, of course. So that's the demo for you, and of course I am available for any questions. Our technical team will be able to address any questions that you have, and in case we are not able to answer now, we would of course be able to provide you with the answers in no time. Okay, thank you.